Thea walks into her classroom, catching the attention of all her peers with her beauty, cuteness, and her ability to have a smile that can melt any heart. Thea has an aura that makes it difficult for people to ignore her. Tim is a studious and focused student who doesn't have many friends. He is the top student in his class and spends most of his time buried in books. Thea and Tim were two college students who couldn't be more different. Thea was known for her striking beauty and carefree attitude towards life. Tim, on the other hand, was a top-performing student with a focused mindset. One day, exam results are out, and Thea finds out that she is among the bottom in her class. As she is about to enter the classroom, she overhears her so-called friends making fun of her for being stupid. Although Thea is not usually bothered by what people say about her, but this time, her ego is hurt. She feels upset about her friends making fun of her and wonders why people are so mean. Tim is sitting in the library, feeling bored and wondering how dull his life is. Suddenly, Thea appears in front of him, blocking the sun rays falling on his face. Tim is surprised to see her, as she is not one of the most popular girls in college, but there's something about her that makes her stand out. She is cute, but there's also an air of mystery around her that makes people hesitate to approach her. Thea, feeling a bit shy, timidly approached Tim and asked,
"Would you be interested in teaching me?"
Tim was taken aback by Thea's request.
What, you want me to teach you? What?
I want to be in the top 10 of the class, and I thought you could help me with that.
Thea nervously responded.
You are in the bottom 10. You know that, right? This is next to impossible.
Tim smirked, but Thea was determined.
Leave that to me. Just teach me the basics for the next 3 months.
Tim was impressed by Thea's confidence.
Okay, let's do this. Let's have some fun. But I have a few conditions that need to be followed for you to get into the top 10.
Anything.
Thea eagerly agreed.
No social life, no friends, no family for the next 3 months. Only studies matter. You study, sleep, and eat. And if it's not required, no sleep or food. And third, stay close to me. Shift to my dorm.
Thea was hesitant.
First 2 are okay, but why do I need to live close to you?
Tim challenged her.
And I thought you wanted this bad.
Thea felt a mix of excitement and anxiety as she prepared to embark on this journey with Tim. Tim and Thea were sitting in Tim's room, working on a schedule for their studies.
You need to get up by 3 a.m., go for a run, have a juice, and study from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. Then attend college at 9 a.m. And after coming back, we will start again from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m.
But isn't 3 a.m. too early?
In the next few weeks, Tim and Thea were together all the time, studying after school. Tim had taken control of Thea's life, telling her what to study, when to eat, and when to sleep. Tim would shout at her, call her stupid, and make her redo work until she was perfect, though that was what she needed. Tim had no emotions or compassion towards her. Thea felt low and wondered if she made the right choice of studying with Tim. Tim had gone to meet his family for a day and came back late at night to his room. As Tim entered his room and saw Thea asleep on the table with books next to her, he was upset. Why is this girl not studying? Though his frustration was due to his meeting with his parents, he went next to Thea and shouted,
Are you serious?
Thea was in shock, almost in tears. She shouted back,
I'm tired. Okay, you can't shout at me like this.
Tim had never heard Thea giving back to him and was taken aback. He said,
I'm sorry. I had something else on my mind and I shouted at you.
Tim was sorry, and Thea's beauty and tears in her eyes made him weak. He held her hand and said,
Would it be okay if I kiss you?
She didn't know how to react. She was just staring at him, numb. Tim was unable to resist his temptation towards her. He had been smitten by her since the day he met her in the library. But he didn't want to accept the fact. Being rude to her was his way of resisting the power she had over him. And he held her tight, with his arms around her waist, and pulled her very close to him. Thea was surprised, and her heart was racing. She kept looking into Tim's eyes nervously. Tim was nervous too. He closed his eyes and went closer to Thea. He gently touched her lips with his lips. Though Thea was surprised, she did not resist Tim. She closed her eyes, and they kissed passionately. That night was a high point of the days and nights they had been spending together, and she slowly broke his walls. Exams are over. Thea and Tim are relieved. Their 3 months of hard work had finally came to an end. Though they have not defined their relationship, Thea and Tim have been living like a couple for the last 3 months. The day after the last exam, Tim went to visit his family, promising Thea that he would hang out with her the next day. Thea was excited to hang out with Tim and tried to call him multiple times. There was no response. Thea could not find Tim for the next 7 days, and it made Thea restless and worried. Finally, when she saw Tim sitting in the class with his head down, Thea couldn't contain herself any longer. At the end of the day, Thea mustered up the courage to confront Tim about his mysterious absence.
Are you okay? Where were you for the last 7 days? I was worried,
Thea asked with a concerned tone. Tim looked away and replied,
You need not be worried about me. We are not dating, and exams are over now, so are we.
Thea didn't know what to think. She felt sad, but what Tim said was true. They were never in a relationship. However, she had expected more from Tim and thought that there was something between them. Feeling betrayed, lonely, and angry towards the world, she was left feeling like nobody. With no friends and no Tim, her life had changed, so much in just 1 semester. The exam results were announced. As usual, Tim was on top, but the name that shocked everyone was Thea. She was 3rd in the class. Thea suddenly became popular in her class. Tim had no reaction from outside, but was impressed with Thea. He thought of going to Thea and congratulate her. After the class, Tim went to Thea, but he stopped when he saw Thea talking to a senior who seemed pretty close to her. Tim had never seen Thea being close to any guy apart from him. She always had girls around her. Gossip ran across the college that Thea and the senior had become a couple. Tim was not really aware of his feelings for Thea and got irritated and couldn't focus on anything in class. The next day, Tim sat next to Thea, desperate to be close to her, but Thea avoided him. Tim confronted Thea.
I know you are avoiding me, but please, would you listen to me? The senior you are dating is not good for you.
Thea was not bothered and said,
You need not be worried about me. You and I are not dating, and exams are over now. So are we.
Tim was hurt, and he recollected that he said the exact same words to Thea. He then realized how much Thea was hurt because of him. Tim's issues with his family always triggered his worst side. Tim tried explaining this to Thea, but it was too late. The following day, Tim went to the senior.
I would like to speak to you about Thea. Thea is too good for you. If you hurt her in any way, I make sure you will suffer.
Tim warned. Seniors smiled and said,
I know Thea is a sweet girl, and if anyone does anything to my sweet cousin, I would break his face.
Tim was embarrassed. Couldn't believe that the senior Thea was talking to was her cousin. Without a moment's hesitation, Tim rushed to find Thea, desperate to make things right between them. But she wasn't at her usual spot, and he searched frantically for her. Finally, he spotted her in the library, bathed in the warm glow of the sunlight.
Would you be interested in dating me?
Don't overestimate yourself,
Thea replied calmly. Tim dropped down to his knees and shouted for all to hear.
Please be my girlfriend.
With no other choice, Thea relented.
Okay, but please, don't make a scene here.
Their happiness was short-lived. Their public display of affection earned them a week-long ban from the library. But they didn't care. They were too busy enjoying their newfound love and promise of livingly happily ever after.